But we had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was forced up there.
What if I told you a single pill bottle with Barack Obama's smiling face on it could become a symbol of chaos, control, and controversy at the heart of one of the music industry's biggest scandals? That bottle, as strange as it sounds, has become a lightning rod in the courtroom drama unraveling around Sean Diddy Combs. But it's not just about a bizarre pill case. It's about the world behind the brand, behind the bling, and behind the legacy. Stay with us as we unpack every explosive detail in this high-stakes trial.
Trial against Sean Diddy Combs has moved into its 7th day of testimony. Today, the former personal assistant to Mr. Combs, David James, returned to the stand. Jurors also heard from the mother of singer Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas.
David James, Diddy's former personal assistant, testified that he saw pill bottles with Barack Obama's face on them, openly carried, not hidden. No one knows what was inside, but what stood out was the image, something that sparked immediate confusion and curiosity. Was it symbolic? A joke? Something darker? In the courtroom, this single
testimony makes it hard to brush off as just a throwaway comment.
Others
James
laughed.
described
One
the pill
observer
bottles as
whispered,
an
"Is he serious?" It seems surreal, but this testimony wasn't meant
oddly
to amuse.
consistent part
It
of
was
Diddy's
used to
day-to-day
craft a
activities.
psychological
He claimed they
portrait
weren't
of
hidden
Diddy,
away in a drawer or
unpredictable, theatrical, and perhaps dangerously eccentric. Legal
But one
analysts
stood out
weighed
among
in.
the rest.
This isn't about
A bottle
proving
allegedly
crime with
featuring the
bottle.
smiling-
It's about setting a tone. It suggests an environment ruled by the unusual, where bizarre behavior was normal, and normal rules didn't apply.
Is outside of the courthouse in New York City. Chloe, walk us through what has happened in court so far today.
Yeah, so Ellison, you talked about David James. He is somebody who worked for 2 years for Combs as a personal assistant, and he really pulled back the curtain on what it's like to work for someone like Combs. He said that sometimes his days would be 20 hours at a time, and he would work 21 days in succession with no breaks. And he talked about how he knew that he was signing up for a tough job, but he also talked about how Combs allegedly had him.
Think about that, man. Working 20-hour days, 21 days straight with no break. Think about the stuff he has heard and seen. Think about all this is what I was talking about. This is what I've been waiting for. Because, I know a lot of people are quiet because they probably were going to testify. And then there's people who are quiet because, they're trying not to get on Diddy's bad side, allegedly. But this right here, I said bodyguards and drivers, and of course, personal assistants. These are the people who know the most, seen the most. Wow, that's, boy.
So have him get prescriptions under his own name.
Okay, so, sorry. I don't know if I can mention all the stuff he would get for Diddy, stuff for Diddy to put in his body. But they were just saying that that's what he was doing. He was the one that was getting this stuff and saying that, now they're getting into the racketeering and all that. Because people were like talking about Cassie saying all of this, yes, is DV, but this is not what he's on trial for. And hey, but wait, there's more. Now we starting to get into it. They said they were just laying the platform down.
So let's break this down. Why?
David James didn't just work for Diddy, he lived in his orbit. He testified that his shifts often lasted 20 hours. Sometimes he'd work 21 days in a row without a break. He signed up knowing the job wouldn't be easy, but what he didn't expect was the alleged treatment, being used as a mule for prescription pickups, constantly on call, and allegedly forced into morally questionable errands. This wasn't just hard labor, it was psychological warfare. According to James, Diddy controlled every minute of his day, using fear, guilt, and unpredictable demands to keep him on edge. The term freak-off party might sound like tabloid sensationalism, but in court, it became part of official testimony. James claimed these weren't your average celebrity parties. They were wild, chaotic, and deeply disturbing. He described being made to organize logistics, fulfill bizarre requests, and even monitor private interactions between guests. Some demands, he said, crossed deeply personal boundaries, leaving him humiliated and fearful. What's more, James testified that refusing Diddy wasn't an option. The consequences? Public humiliation, threats, and emotional abuse. It created a toxic cycle, he claimed, one where the only way to survive was to submit. Then came the claims about guns. James testified that firearms were sometimes visible at private events, not locked away, not discreet, just there, as if their presence was normal. In one story, a loaded weapon was casually placed in full view at a party. James described feeling paralyzed with fear, worried something could go terribly wrong. No threats were made, he admitted, but the implication was clear. Power through intimidation. For James, the guns weren't props, they were symbols of control. And in the courtroom, the mood reportedly shifted when he described this. Even the most skeptical observers fell silent.
Whoo! All right, we're gonna get through it all.
Potentially.
Kim.
We're gonna get to it all.
It looks that way. What was your overall takeaway today on day 7?
Overall takeaway, I was surprised. First of all, I will say David James, the assistant, is hilarious. I think everybody was there were multiple notes of people laughing in the courtroom, which technically you shouldn't be doing, but I couldn't help myself either. I had moments where I was just laughing my head off at just some of the answers that he was giving. Of course, his cross-examination was done by Costco lawyer, as we lovingly call him, Mark Agnifilo, because of his baby oil jokes, or not jokes, but defense that was absolutely ridiculous. After that, we had Cassie's mom. Cassie's mom was not cross-examined. Diddy's team wouldn't do it, which I thought spoke volumes, and definitely learned something new of what she had to go through today. Then we had the Punisher, who was a worker that engaged in some of the FOs, kind of contradicted himself more than once. Not good. And then we moved into the HSI agent, and this was the agent who was in charge of organizing the Miami raid, and he had kind of just gotten started when the day ended. So lots to go through.
James testified that he was often sent to buy supplies. Some were medical, others less so. He claimed the money, often thousands of dollars, came from a Louis Vuitton bag Diddy kept nearby. Inside were 25 to 30 pill bottles, he said, including name brands and street drugs. Reimbursements came in cash, not through payroll, not from the company, but directly from Diddy or his security team. To prosecutors, this wasn't just shady accounting. It looked like part of a bigger machine, one that skirted corporate structures to keep everything private and untraceable. James also claimed he was subjected to lie detector tests when items went missing, conducted by former FBI agents, searched by security guards. He said Diddy once recorded him dancing at a party while under the influence, then kept the footage, just in case. It's part of a chilling narrative, one where the employer holds not just your schedule, but your secrets, your identity, and your safety. This wasn't just control, it was psychological imprisonment. Regina Ventura, mother of singer Cassie, took the stand. She described receiving an email from her daughter, claiming Diddy had threatened her and demanded $20,000. The reason? She was dating someone else. Ventura said she later received the demand directly from Diddy, and that she was told videos of her daughter might be released if the demand wasn't met. She also brought photographs, images from Christmas 2011 showing bruises on Cassie's body. For years, those photos were kept private. Now they're evidence.
Remember, the government says that Combs was running his businesses and carrying out illegal activity and using assistants, security guards, and other individuals that work for him to carry out that illegal activity. So he's one of many individuals that previously worked for Combs that we're going to be hearing from. And like you said, who else did we hear from today? We finally heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. It was very brief on the stand, but she talked about taking photos of her daughter in 2011 when she came home to Connecticut for the Christmas holidays, and that she was shocked to see her daughter's body, that she hadn't been aware that her daughter's relationship with Combs had been violent at this point, and that she took those photos to memorialize them. And thankfully for her, she did, because they showed those in court today to the jurors.
Okay, again, just in case I had to trim out that Cassie's mother was talking about the photos she took revealing all the DV that went on with Diddy. She wanted to, take a photo and keep that for herself, as far as, like a day like this coming. She has those photos. As I said before, Cassie told the mother, and the mother knew about that stuff. She just didn't know about the pre-call. But again, I'm just saying this because it might have been chopped out in the video.
Chloe, explain for us how the prosecution plans to use these witnesses to build their case as it relates to the specific charges Diddy is facing here.
So remember, there are 5 charges, like I said, racketeering, conspiracy. So that's where you get the individuals that worked for Combs, whether it was security, personal assistants, chief of staff. We're going to be hearing from a chef who once worked for Combs.
For decades, Diddy has been a mogul, a legend, a symbol of reinvention. But that's not the story unfolding in this courtroom. What we're seeing now is a dismantling, piece by piece, of the image he built. These testimonies, if believed, suggest a pattern of manipulation, fear, and chaos. Social media has responded with fire. Some still defend him. Others have already moved on. Memes about pill bottles, hashtags demanding accountability. Meanwhile, brand partners are watching, quietly, waiting to see where this goes. So where does this leave us? We've heard about pills with presidential faces, wild parties with secret rules, and loaded weapons left out like furniture. We've heard about fear, surveillance, and control that went far beyond any job description. And yet, we have no physical evidence, no photos of the pill bottles, no footage from the parties, no audio of the threats. What we do have is testimony, emotionally charged, detailed, and damning. But will it be enough? For now, the jury holds that answer. And for the rest of us, one question lingers. Is this the fall of a legend or just the tip of an even darker iceberg? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because this story is far from over.